Hey everyone, this is Mojca from Studio Rocca. Today the topic is brush-on glazes that are difficult. Why I find them difficult in particular, some are super easy and some stick too fast. They basically are very gooey and yeah, when you apply them, so here I have a bisque fired pot, which I always like to blow in before I glaze. And when I apply, it's almost like my brush starts sticking because the absorption is very high and my glaze is a little bit, gooey. So I have a great trick for you how to deal with this, and I will introduce this on this specific glaze. So we also have it in the studio, so if any members are watching, this is a transparent from Terracolor. I know it's like really messy. It is an absolutely amazing transparent glaze when we talk about results. It's not that lovely when it comes to application, okay? So what we'll need for this is the glaze, something to mix the glaze, a fan brush. The bigger the piece, the bigger the surface I'm making, the bigger the brush. It just makes the application much nicer, much smoother, and if you've glazed pots before, you know the better you apply, better it looks now, better it looks later. We'll need a pot of water, fresh water, and a fresh sponge, okay? So let me just first show you what actually happens when I apply the glaze without my trick, okay? So I mixed it like yesterday, so this is quite nice. Don't underestimate mixing of brush-on glazes, okay? They are kind of meant more like easy peasy, you open it, you put it on, but very often they're still like very gooey, they're sitting down, there's water on the top, so if it's not mixed, you're not getting all of the chemistry on your piece. So yeah. Anyway, why I find this difficult? First of all, I will wet my brush. If you're in a community studio, you never know who used it before. Maybe you used it, didn't wash it right. It doesn't hurt. Wash it, get rid of the water, okay? Then we're gonna give it a good mix, and before you just go on, take a moment, get rid of the glaze because there's still a lot of water in the brush, and then go back in and then apply, okay? So if I do this, I'm gonna try to do this as good as possible. You see what happens is my brush kind of sticks and I get these chunks of glaze. This one has been a little bit diluted with water, so it's not that bad. But if your brush is sticky, pulling, you feel like you get stressed because you have to work so fast, the trick is get a damp sponge, brush down your whole piece. Don't make it wet, but make it, kind of give it like twice a rub with a damp sponge, okay? So basically what you've done is you've introduced a tiny bit of water into the piece and it's not that thirsty anymore, okay? What that makes with the application, which I, by the way, always remove the glaze from one side of the brush, and with the loaded side of the brush, I go in and I can take my sweet time, okay? So I had a much longer stroke possibility and smearing all of the glaze. I'm not getting all those chunks. I'm not sticking to the pot. It just makes the glazing process much, much more enjoyable, okay? This does not go for every glaze. Again, this is just for glazes that are very sticky. This is mostly effect glazes, tend to act like it. But it's just going to win you that extra, few seconds, okay? So this would be layer one. You see like how it's still a little bit drying. So the process takes just like 30 seconds longer. Now I'm going to get to the specific glaze. Sometimes there are glazes, I don't know if you can see it, but they bubble a little. We'll see that much better in the second layer. So this is already dry. I'm just going to continue. One side I take the glaze off with the loaded size. I generously apply the glaze. So you want to do it generously because you need glass to form, okay? And when you don't have enough glaze, you're not going to get the color you want. Same thing when you have too much glaze, okay? Don't douse it in the whole thing, like smear the glaze around, because too much is also no good. It will kind of pile on the bottom and probably make pinholes or some other, or cracks, or you just don't want that. You don't want thick glass, okay? You want it just right. So I've done all the sides and now I'm doing the inside, and now the really big bubbles are starting to show. I make sure I'm not wasting glaze. I'm putting all this back, kind of really taking my time, rubbing the brush on the side here, and then I will wash it later in a pre-washing bucket. Make sure you don't get all that down the drain, and just wash all your utensils somewhere else before, and then in the sink when it's practically glaze free. Okay, putting the glaze aside because 2 layers of this particular glaze are enough. Okay, and I hope, can you see those bubbles? Yeah, there are some that are very big, so you might be tempted to just leave it. Don't. Okay. Really, especially with this particular glaze, I can be quite rough, rub them out. Basically, I'm distributing the dust from the surroundings into those pinholes. There are some glazes that are more sensitive, so you don't have to, or you don't want to rub that hard, but with this one, really, you can kind of even up the surface, and now it looks pretty great. And there we go. And then there's some dust, so I'm just gonna put that into my water. I'm gonna clean my surface so I don't get any glaze on the bottom, right? I mean, here I left it raw anyway. And now we can already give you another little tip on how to clean this rim really nicely. So if you've been following me on Instagram or so, you know I'm really a sucker for clean rims, okay? I think they really make all the difference. And how I achieve that is kind of really pressing hard with a damp sponge, kind of like so, and I'm getting that very clean rim. You see that in contrast to like down here. So push hard, make long strokes, and every single time I am finished with a stroke, I turn my sponge. So I never take a dirty part of the sponge to do it again. And if you can, I mean, your water bucket's just next to you, just wash it out like after 2, max 3 kind of cleaning movements. And there we go. Always security. I just learned my lesson from forgetting it a few times. I just give it a rub all around, okay? There's been like such a nice job cleaning the rim before, and then I fired it and there was like a bit of blue or red like down here, and just like, you know, all that for nothing. Also the bottom, and there we go. And then let it dry. It's ideally, if the glazed piece dries, about 24 hours before it's being fired. In the studio, we take care of this anyway for you. There are some glazes that dry very fast. You can fire it the same day. But yes, that's how you use tricky glazes. So damp sponge, pre-hydrate the piece a little bit. That's it. I hope this was helpful and enjoy glazing. Ciao! Hey, so please give me a thumbs up or leave a comment if you liked the video, then I can make more. And if you have your own tips you want to share with the community, leave them below. Ciao!